So the topic is how to be taken serious by a seller in a real estate transaction. Doesn't matter if you're going out to buy your first house, your second house, your third house, you're going out to buy investment properties, or you're starting to delve into commercial property, multi-unit, stuff like that. So here's one of the situations that I encountered over the past week that kind of indicated that this might be an important topic for people. I have a friend of mine and his girlfriend going out to look for their first house. As a matter of fact, they're under contract right now for a condo. He asked me if I could be his realtor, which I'm a licensed realtor, and show him all these places. And I was like, no, you should get your own realtor. And the reason why is because, first of all, that's not fun stuff to me. Like, I'm not interested in doing that. And second, I probably won't be able to give him the kind of attention that he would need as a first-time home buyer. But he uses me as a resource, like a disinterested third party. So I told him about going to get an approval letter versus a pre-qualification letter and how important that is, especially in today's market. It's a hot market, very low inventory, and sellers are really picky when they come to the offers. So he went out and he got approved for a mortgage. He didn't just get pre-qualified. If you've ever been on the selling side of a transaction, then you should be able to see the difference between a pre-qualification and an approval. An approval letter will say, you know, the income has already been checked, the credit has already been pulled, and the assets have been verified. In a pre-qualification letter, it's like a buyer is calling up their friend Joe. Hey, Joe, can you put together a letter for me? And it doesn't really mean anything. So there's one way to come across as being serious to a seller. There's a lot of different ways in that situation to accentuate that seriousness. I guess that's the way to say it. And that is to put a little bit larger earnest money deposit down. It's going to be held by a lawyer anyway. But if you go in with an approval letter or a pre-qualification letter and you put $500 down as earnest money on a $300,000 or $400,000 house, seller's not going to take you that serious. Probably going to want to come up with like $5,000 to show that you're serious. So that's that situation. So here's scenario number 2. It would definitely be, I guess, in line with real estate investing because, here, let me just tell you a little bit about it. I know this guy from a few years ago that he used to manage, and he still does manage, sober houses. A sober house is where an individual that is clean and sober, let's say, is looking for a place to stay, but doesn't have the huge amount of money to come out of pocket to find a regular rental. There's no month-and-a-half security that's required, and they can rent on a weekly basis. Sometimes there's 2-3 guys in a room. It's they're all clean places. I'm not saying anything negative. It's not like a slumlord or anything going on. It's profitable for the person that owns the house, and it's beneficial to these guys that need a hand up, not a hand out, a hand up. So I thought about it for a while, about some houses, about doing something like that. So I spoke to this guy. Now I'm going to, a couple of weeks ago, I'm heading down to Atlantic City with Diane, and out of the blue, this guy texts me, do I have any houses coming up for sale because he wants to buy them? Now, from what I know of this guy, he manages these sober houses. He doesn't own them. So how I responded was, I said, I'm probably going to have 2 houses coming up, one in Kingsburg and one in Union Beach within the next couple weeks. Before I list them, I'll let you know the addresses. Just send me a proof of funds letter. And that's where the situation kind of went south. Not south. He never sent me a proof of funds letter. Now, a proof of funds letter in real estate investing is just that. You're proving that you have the funds available to purchase investment property. That's an important piece of the puzzle. And if you don't have that, a seller's not going to take you serious. So in that particular situation, I didn't do anything. I never received a proof of funds letter, so I'm not going to take him that serious. Not like mad at him. I'm just not taking you that serious if you don't have a proof of funds letter. You're telling me that you're ready to buy houses, not even one house, just houses in general? And that would be nice, but I just need a proof of funds letter. So I never did anything. So just a few nights ago, he tried to call me the one time, but I didn't answer. It's not like a friend of mine or something like that. And then the other night, he started getting a little aggressive. Like, hey, I tried to call you, you never answered the phone, you never gave me the address, a long-winded text, which is kind of weird. So I texted him back and I just said, I was waiting for the proof of funds letter. Now he writes me another long-winded text. that's a tell. Like in poker, that's a tell. Like if you clear your throat and you're holding the big stuff in your hand, then it's not a good thing, because I know. If you itch your head, you might be bluffing. I could tell. So a long-winded text means something's up. Might be bluffing. So I just said I was waiting for your proof of funds letter. Then I got the long-winded text back. Well, hey, I've bought $820,000 worth of houses since June. If a proof of funds letter is something that you need, I'm not going to pay for it from my CPA. Like, he's like mad at me. I'm not getting mad. I was getting a little frustrated because I was eating dinner with Diane. I'm like, so I wrote him this back. I just said, I'm not interested. Thanks. Best of luck. He wrote me another long-winded text. Well, listen, I don't know what's going on. I guess you don't want to sell your property. I said, there's no need for additional texts. I wish you the best. That's it. And then he didn't write me back. I'm giving you this scenario, and I give you all that drama behind the scenes because a proof of funds letter is like a basic requirement in a real estate investment transaction. You're going to need a proof of funds letter. Even if you're coming up with cash. Like, somebody's not going to show up with a suit on and go to buy like a $3 million piece of property and say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to put an offer on your property. 99% of the time, the seller is going to say, hey, listen, let me have a proof of funds letter. It's not offensive. It's just going to show me that you have the funds available to purchase my property. You see that? I was getting frustrated. All right, so there's number 2. I'm going to give you number 3. Number 3 refers to me talking about a real estate fund, commercial property, and scaling my business to multifamily and things like that. It's almost the same scenario as number 1 and number 2. I don't know everything about it. Before I go to put an offer in to a seller, I want to make sure I have the jargon down. I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And I'm armed with something that would be similar to a proof of funds letter or an approval letter. So today, matter of fact, just a couple hours, I'm going to be talking to the guy that has the fund down in Atlantic City. I'm going to pick his brain. I'm going to see how he came up with it, the pros and cons of it, what he thinks about the local real estate down in Atlantic City, because I started looking at that. I'm also going to learn as much off of him as possible about that. Yesterday, I spoke to a commercial lender. Now, I did mortgages for like 15 years. I'm pretty good at the financing side, but commercial lending, that means 5+ units in a multifamily house, or retail or businesses, a raw land that I can build on and stuff like that. That's all considered commercial. That's a different animal than residential. And I want to make sure before I go down and start looking at multifamily property that I know what I'm doing. To buy a piece of property, you do not have to be an expert in every phase of real estate. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that you need to know some basics. And there are professionals out there that can help you along the way. Real estate agents, attorneys, lenders, title companies, all these different people have a different part that they play in a real estate transaction that would benefit you, that you're not going to get screwed in the end. But ultimately, it's the property that you're interested in, and it's not more important to any of them than to you. They have an incentive to get the deal closed, or else they don't make any money, but you're either going to be living in it or buying it, and it's your money coming out of your pocket. So if you want that piece of property, to be armed with as much knowledge as you can to present as strong of an offer as possible to be taken serious by a seller, then you want to learn a couple little things before you go into it. So I'm taking my own advice. Yesterday when I spoke to a commercial lender, I picked his brain for 20 minutes or so. Him and I hit it off. As a matter of fact, I could see myself being friends with him. I got the call today to the guy down in Atlantic City. Hopefully he'll be a friend of mine when I get off the phone. He's got the fund together, and he's purchasing property in opportunity zones down in Atlantic City. Opportunity zones are pretty interesting. The state or the government gives you these tax incentives in order to buy in these zones, and then you pay less taxes when you go to sell them on the profits. Now you have to hold them for quite a while. I'll get into that in another video if that's interesting to you guys. I'm selling a couple of these houses. I might sell this house. I'm over here at the Kingsburg house. I might wind up selling this house instead of refinancing. So this way I can get a little cash in my pocket, and this would be done. And I'll sell the Union Beach house to put some cash in my pocket, but I got to reinvest that. So I'd love to go into a bigger commercial property. For me, commercial property doesn't mean a retail business, doesn't mean a business, doesn't mean warehouse or anything like that. Commercial property to me means 5+ units, multifamily. When you go above 4 units, then you get out of residential lending and you go into commercial lending. Commercial lending is a different animal. There's some similarities. They usually have a balloon payment in 5 to 7 years, which means you get a 30-year loan similar to a regular 25 or 30-year loan, similar to a regular residential loan. However, it comes due in 5, 6, 7 years. You got to refinance or sell the property or something like that. So that's one little caveat. There's another word I've been dying to sneak in. Caveat. There's a couple of the things. They're looking at the property more than they're looking at the individual, which is great because of the way that I make my income. It's hard to qualify sometimes for some stuff because it's all over the place and it's not like a W-2 employee. The down payment requirements are a little heavier. They're usually at least 20%, but you could probably look forward to 25%. So if you're buying $1 million piece of property, they're going to want $250,000 down. Hence the real estate fund or joint venture, right? There's something so exciting about multi-units. Having let's say you get a 20-unit apartment building. That's like buying 20 single-family houses in one shot. You only have, well, I don't know about this, but I was going to say you only have one roof on multiple units, just like you would have on one individual house. There's something so exciting about that. Here's some other exciting things about commercial real estate that I don't think I ever delved into with you guys. The way to add value is a little different than residential. Like in residential, you could fix the place up, and then once it's rented, you're going to rely on appreciation around the area. What's the area doing? It's appreciating by 3, 5, 6, 7. In the recent market, 10, 12%. In a multifamily commercial property, you can increase the value differently. You could, if there's no washer and dryers in the units and you're going to be able to get more rent for the unit, if you put a washer and dryer in, all of a sudden the property's worth more because the rent coming in, the income coming in on a commercial property, when that increases, it increases the value of the property itself. So that kind of stuff is exciting to me. If the current rent is $1,000 a month, but I know that the market rent is $1,500 per month, then each unit in there increased by $500, let me run the numbers, is going to increase the value of this property at X amount of dollars. That kind of stuff just gets me going. Diane, she listens to me, right? She doesn't roll her eyes anymore, which is really nice because we've been together, March will be 10 years. I've been doing this for a little over 4 years with her. So she knows what I'm capable of doing in a good way, all right? So she knows that she shouldn't just shake me off and roll her eyes at me because I've come through with the residential side. I've proven it that I could be successful with that. So now this is another phase. Running all this stuff by her after she got done working 10 hours probably isn't the best thing to do. But I ran it by her last night and she's on board, but I don't think she showed the proper amount of enthusiasm. I'm going to give her credit for the fact that she worked 10 hours and she had an hour drive each way. So being out of the house 12 hours, how much enthusiasm can I expect? Man, I would love to make a video with a 20-unit apartment complex and tell you what I want to do with it and see it all the way from start to finish. So hopefully that'll be coming up soon.